Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode with Feel Good with me. I'm your host, Idan, and today I have the pleasure to once again welcome Dr. Wayne Pickering, also known as the Mango Man. And in today's podcast, he's going to talk to us about is your diet a riot? And he's going to cover food combining, which is one of my most favorite topics in nutrition and well-being. And it is so important for me, and I think you guys will get excited and understand the value of that, because with food combining is one of them changes that you do that you actually notice the difference very soon. So if you have digestive issues, heartburns, when you learn to combine your food, regardless of your diet, you notice the difference very early on, immediately really, and that's something that how it started the whole passion into nutrition for me is through food combining. It just made so much sense, and I was so thinking, how come I was never taught this in school, that you need to combine your food? It's such a minimal thing to do, is to combine your meals correctly and your food. And in nature, of course, animals would usually have just one type of food, but I will let Dr. Wayne explain that in details.
Yes, by all means, Idan. Listen, it's always a delight when you meet somebody who speaks the same language when you go to different countries. It's wonderful. And I'm so glad to hear your story as well. And I'd love to hear it in more detail, because when you mentioned that about food combining, that's one thing that I've learned in my life, buddy. Things in life just don't happen. They happen justly. And a great friend of mine, Dr. Willie Jolly, in his book, he really inspired me to do, to keep on flowing. It's the title is A Setback is a Setup to Come Back. A setback is a setup to come back. And of course, I teach that when you are rock bottom, that's the best platform to start growing. So when I was at my lowest time in my life, someone happened to give me a 3-step plan that within 2 weeks, you will, not maybe, you will discover what you're going to do for the rest of your life, especially with the career side of your life. And I have a special gift for you here today, okay? If you go, and here's an audio, mangomancareer.com. There's nothing to sign up for. There's nothing to buy. It routes itself to one of our audio programs. And it's that 3-step plan that within 2 weeks, you will know precisely what you're going to do for the rest of your life. It tells my story, and it's my gift to our audience today. And so back at you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wayne. In your seminars and podcast series, you talk a lot about the 9 components that will keep us healthy for life. Tell us briefly about what that, so we will understand where nutrition fits into the whole plan.
Okay, let me tell you. I'll give you a brief synopsis of it. I can remember when I was past president of the National Speakers Association, when I was also a member as well for, close to 20 years. And I got popular very quickly, and I was very honored to be in touch with so many very famous speakers in the speaking community. And there was one guy, he was in a meeting room this one time, and he came up to me after and he asked me if I would do 14 seminars. He says, Dr. Wayne, he says, I've got you booked for 14 seminars, but you got to do them all in a 12-day period. And do you know what, Idan? All 14 of those seminars were in a different town. So I had to tear down the afternoon stage to make sure we got to the next town to set up the new stage. And I did that for 14 seminars in 12 days. And every one of them, as I mentioned, was in a different town. But there was one thing that I never forgot them asking me, and it really set a good tone to how people can understand where nutrition fits in, where your fitness fits in. how the sunshine, how do you get the right rest and all of that. So everybody was asking me, Doc, you make a lot of sense up there, buddy. He said, you suppose I can get me a new start on life? Now, down in Alabama, they really talk with that Southern accent. So I started playing with that word, a new start. And these are the 9 components that's going to keep you healthy for life. Put those down on a piece of paper acronymically. A new start. And each letter represents that one of those 9 components that'll keep you healthy for life. The A is attitude. The N is nutrition. The E is exercise. The W is water. The S is sunshine. The T is tenacity. The A is air. The R is rest. And the T is temperance. Now, I'm going to ask you this, Nidor. What heads the list on all that, buddy? Which one starts the acronym?
The acronym A for
Attitude.
attitude.
Yes, sir. Okay, the reason I'm asking you that, attitude heads the list. What we think about, we bring about. And so I put a little poem together on attitude. And if you have enough fortitude to develop an attitude of sincere gratitude for your body's magnitude, you will have an aptitude to reach a higher latitude for an ultimate altitude. Attitude heads the list. Make sure that you're associating yourself with the greatest people and people who are like minds. Get away from all this negativity that's going on today, because there's so many wonderful things that are available to us. And one of the great things that you're experiencing is you have Idon Naor, his podcast series, and that's giving you some tools to rise above a lot of challenges that you might be facing on both physical and mental. So that's how those are the 9 components, Idon, to get you a new start with your health. So back to you.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I love your acronyms here. It's incredible. We're sharing it on the screen, so the audience who's watching this on YouTube will be able to see it. And if you are listening to it through the other podcast platforms, you would have it in the description. Dr. Wayne, if you can define for us what does nutrition means to you, let's get a small definition before we move into the 5 elements to a sound, healthy nutrition plan.
Okay, first of all, let me say this. Nutrition doesn't heal. It doesn't cure anything, but it can cause most of the diseases that we face today. So we need to get away from all of this thinking that nutrition is going to heal, cure. Nothing does that. It's a science. Now, there's 4 processes. Here's what the definition of nutrition is. It's 4 processes that the body employs to make food, nutrition, and materials for the body to use. That's nutrition. Nutrition is nothing more than a series of 4 processes that the body employs to make food, materials for the body to use. It has to break it down. It has to get it into the bloodstream. The body uses it, then it gets rid of it. It's called digestion, absorption, assimilation, elimination. So it's a science, and it never changes. It's how we apply it that changes. So understand this, and you can get away from all of the marketing that goes on, this nonsense of making people count this, weigh this, measure this, do that. It's just ridiculous. So Nutrition is a science and it never changes. It's how we apply it that changes. Back to you.
Thank you so much for this definition. I'm really looking forward to delve deep into this in this episode here. So tell us a little bit about food combining and how does it help the body?
Well, let me address the 5 elements that you alluded to a little while ago about a sound, healthy nutrition plan. And then we'll understand how food combining fits into the whole realm. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. First of all, we need to eat foods when they're in season. And every season, how can you tell if they're in season? If you do not have our food combining guide, and people can go there, and it's called combinewhenyoudine.com, combinewhenyoudine.com. But if we eat foods when they're in season, every food that's listed up there with the groups that are compatible in a compatible combination with other foods, it also shows you in there when they're in season. So we need to eat foods when they're in season. Now, let's say you don't have that food combining guide, which is in 46 countries. We're very blessed. And how can you tell when foods are in season? If you go to the grocery store, you're going to see the cheapest ones and the ones that's most abundant. Usually that's a good sign of showing you when they're in season. Now, what we also need to do, one of the second element to a sound nutrition plan would be eat foods that's suited to the type of environment that you live in. It doesn't do Eskimos very good eating watermelons all the day. We need to eat foods that's suited to the type of activity that we're involved in. Let's say a gymnast or somebody is sitting behind a computer all day, they don't require the same food as maybe a bodybuilder or a triathlete or something like that. So the first one was eat foods when they're in season. The second one's eat foods if they can grow in your type of environment. The third one is eat foods according to the type of activity that you're involved with, your occupation. And number 4, eat foods according to your body's digestive chemistry, food combining. Now, we need to respect our acid alkaline balance. And also, by the way, in the food combining guide, you'll also see that every food is in there. It either yields an acid or an alkaline balance, or let's say, we'll say a balance. Now, here's the 5th one. Try to eat more raw than cooked. Because if it's not fit raw, it's worse yet cooked. So let's get into this food combining, and I'll give you a short definition of it. Food combining is a scientific way to eat your foods so that everything that you eat stands the best chance of digesting and doesn't stay in the stomach any longer than it needs to. Let me ask you this, Edon. If something's insane, what does that mean? That means it's not sane, correct?
That makes sense, yes.
If something's inharmonious, that doesn't mean it's halfway harmonious. That means it's not harmonious. If something's indigesting, that doesn't mean it's halfway digesting. It's not digesting properly. So now we're going to have all these little challenges that we have. And you were right when you first started our time together today. Why aren't we taught this in school? That's something that I have asked my audiences. Why aren't we taught this in school? And what you said a little while ago about the financial revenue that is generated from illness and all that, there's no money in keeping people well. Okay, so the purpose of food combining is to uncomplicate, I should say, the process of digesting, therefore deleting digestive disorders. So let's look at how the science of the body really works. Everything in your body, Edon, starts at the cellular level. And a single cell is called a zygote. So many cells make tissues. so many tissues make organs, and so many organs make systems. And the human body has 10 systems that work together harmoniously for natural normal function. And these are the muscular system, skeleton system, nervous system, glandular system, lymphatic system, your elimination system, respiratory system, digestive system, your circulatory system, and the reproductive system, all of these. And each one is a separate entity in and of itself. However, the system we have the most control over is the digestive system through the way we feed ourselves. And so this in turn actually affects all the others. So the digestive system really is the site of ongoing chemical activity, and different chemicals are needed for the digestion of different types of food. For example, starch foods. They require an alkaline digestive medium, which is supplied initially in the mouth by the digestive enzyme ptyalin. That's P-T-Y-A-L-I-N, if anybody's wanting to look that up. And the protein foods require a very acid medium for digestion. Pepsin, hydrochloric acid. And anybody with any knowledge of chemistry knows that acids and alkalines tend to neutralize each other. Hence, when they are forced to go to work at the same time in the stomach, digestion is completely arrested. So food will rot whenever it's allowed to remain in a prolonged state, let's say for a temperature of 85 degrees. Well, do you know the stomach temperature during digestion is 104 to 106 degrees? So the science of the body is really the science of cause and effect. We must deal with the cause. And isn't it ironic, Idan, that people of the best fed nations in the world have so much trouble digesting their food? And the problem really is compounded when you not only mix it improperly, but many of us eat with absolutely no discrimination. To be more blunt, we junk. So it boggles my mind in trying to fathom why intelligent human beings would try to subsist by eating junk, as junk foods affect behavior, thought processes, and we are the losers. Somewhere I read this time, the best way to lengthen your life is to avoid shortening it. So if you will refrain from overeating and combine your foods correctly, as indicated in, as I mentioned, that food combining guide, that's combinewhenyoudine.com, you should really never again experience those bloated feelings. Let me tell you another little thing here, real quick. I had to work on a project here for our team, and it was all about digestion. And I decided to go ahead and share with the team, and I only got 10% of all the testimonies finished. We were shocked. I mean, in being in this business for 44 years, the testimonies that came in were phenomenal. And sometimes you forget about them. And I was totally shocked when I started reading some of these testimonies that the people they've quit their digestive challenges like indigestion, heartburn, acid reflux, gas, acid reflux, as I mentioned, but so many of them. So constipation will be eliminated, except for that which comes from eating too fast, like not chewing your food up well, or if you're drinking with meals, or if you're not managing your stress, like your emotions, and the effects of the stress will be less with proper food combining, I should say. So your odds for avoiding illness will be greatly improved. Years will be, fun years. We're all going to, here's the line. We're all on the road to death, okay? There's just no need to jump in the passing lane. So you will add quality of years to your life. So men don't die, humans don't die. They actually kill themselves. So conversely, old age doesn't cause disease. We do. So let age be your stage and not your cage. By simply respecting your biological limitations and eating foods in compatible combinations with the body's digestive chemistry, we learn that being healthy can be easy. Remember one thing here about life's law: it's replenishment. If we do not eat, we die. Just as surely, if we don't combine our foods properly and eat the kind of foods, remember, one of life's laws, Idan, is replenishment. If we do not eat, we die. Just as surely as if we don't combine our foods properly and eat the kind of foods which will nourish our bodies constructively, we do not, we don't only die prematurely, but we have to suffer along the way. So let's get your mindset a little bit on food combining and how to really go about doing it and what do I need to be aware of. So back to you.
I have friends from the age of 20, 30, and of course it seems the more as we get older, the more digestive issues we have. So when you learn to combine food, you can have a meal and you don't have to feel that tired afterwards. You don't have to have that acid reflux that it can bring. Just a wonderful way of living. And I agree, we're all gonna die. Well, things may change in the future with technology, who knows, but one thing for sure, it seems that with the right nutrition and right food combining and well-being practices, we can lead a nice, happy, healthy life. Because even if we're young and all in all most of the things may be working for us, as we get older things may not. And when we're young, we often think, oh, I don't care, I may not live to the age of so and so, or I only think about today, the world is about to end anyway. But oftentimes most people, they do live over the age of 80, at least in developed countries, and sometimes even to 100. And when you are at that age, you have more time on your hand because maybe you don't have to work anymore and you have more family and time for your family, and you want to do things with your loved ones. And if you don't look after yourself, what can happen? Some people, very, very small percentage, has incredible genes and they can abuse a lot more than others. But to the vast majorities of us, and also those with the great genes, it will only give the body and ourselves a better chance of living a happier, healthier and life, that we can do more things. And it's the same with Dr. Wayne here. He's able to do press-ups and push-ups and triathlons and all sorts of things. And he can beat many young guys. And it's amazing. And that's how we want to be. We don't have to be fitness fanatics, but just being able to do whatever it is we want to do. If we want to play a little bit of football, then great. I know this is not what everyone or anyone with chronic fatigue, ME and autoimmune condition are thinking about, but in general, this is for people in general looking to well-being, and I'm sure also us with autoimmune condition and post-viral infections, just learning to combine our food could be very helpful. And Dr. Wayne, if you can tell us, I guess let's start, if you can tell us about the 7 proper food combining rules you talk about in your guide, and also the 3 commandments of eating.
Okay, let's address the 3 commandments of eating, okay? And if we get this down, then people will understand the rest of what that food combining guide is all about. So here's the 3 commandments. First of all, no proteins and starches at the same meal. They should not be eaten together. Now, wait a minute, you're thinking, boy, it's one of the worst of the disease-producing habits, and there's no way this combination of food, meat and potatoes, hamburger on the bun, sub sandwiches, meat pizzas, macaroni and cheese, hot dogs, and all those other favorites. Take, for example, the hamburger. The meat is a protein, and the bread is a starch. It takes a series of acid digestive juices to digest the protein, as I mentioned a little while ago, pepsin and hydrochloric acid, and a series of alkaline digestive juices to digest starch, as I previously mentioned. Tyalin, that's P-T-Y-A-L-I-N, if you're going to look that up, and maltase. When proteins and starches are combined, their digestive juices neutralize each other and digestion comes to a halt. Then when food doesn't digest, guess what happens? It rots. Here's the second one. No fruits and vegetables at the same meal. Fruits and vegetables should not be eaten together. When they're combined, the digestion of fruit is delayed and fermentation, again, that starts to happen. It comes around. It occurs. Lettuce and celery are exceptions and may be combined with any fruit vegetable. Now, what is a fruit vegetable? You have to go to the food combiner to do it, but I'm going to give it to you here. Tomatoes are a fruit vegetable and are an exception to the rule. Also, you can have tomatoes with the following vegetables: lettuce, celery, okra, cucumbers, eggplant, bell peppers, summer squash, zucchini squash, and all of that. All of these are your fruit vegetables, as you will see. And this is not a time for us, you and I, to be talking to try to sell anything. That's not what I'm doing. But if you need a good resource, that's why we spent, golly, I guess it was about a year or so to fine tune that all down in that food companion guide. But you'll see where all of those are listed, okay? So first one was no proteins and starches at the same meal. 2, no fruits and vegetables at the same meal. And number 3, eat melons alone or leave them alone, or your stomach will moan. Melons combined with no other food. They are in their simplest form and require no digestion at all in the stomach, other than maybe just breaking it down a little bit to move it through the pyloric valve, it's called, right after the stomach. And if they're held back in the stomach while digesting something else, again, fermentation will take place. So put a piece of melon outside in the sun, Edon, for about an hour at 80 to 90 degrees and see how quickly it rots and decomposes. Well, your stomach temperature, as I indicated a little while ago, is 104 to 106 degrees. It's no wonder that so many people are bothered when they eat melons. They eat them either with, before, or directly after their meal, and there's no exception to this rule. And a subcategory to this commandment would be to desert the desserts. When you eat sweet fruits, even fruit after a meal, you totally foul up the digestive process and your food rots. And bacteria turns the food into alcohols and vinegars, and no digestion is the result. So as I mentioned earlier, if something's inharmonious, we know it's not harmonious. If something's insane, we know it's not sane. But if something is indigesting, that doesn't mean it's halfway digesting. Now the body has to go through all of this aggravation, and the body hates the alcohol and the vinegars, and of course our friends hate the gas, So nature's way of releasing gas by way of the bowels is a natural process, but it's not normal for it to be so smelly, so foul smelly. So the bottom line is here, really. Combine when you dine to get the correct effect. And anything that's worth doing is worth doing poorly until you learn how to do it well. So if we can understand that this life that we're living is actually too short to be putting it through any kind of aggravation. And we did a series on showing people on a video that doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to sign up for anything. Mango Man Digestion. When you watch that, that's me and Dr. Joe Mercola doing that interview on digestion. And it went viral all over the world. And it shows you precisely how you digest food. And that'd be a great gift to you. You don't have to sign up for anything. It's actually on YouTube. And if you go to mangomandigestion.com, but if, let's say you forget that, if you can remember the, THE, themangoman.com. That's our YouTube channel and has about 100 of our videos up there. And you'll have all of this and Mercola's videos up there as well. So if you don't go to Mango Man Digestion, if you misspell that or something, I'm sure you can remember themangoman.com. Okay, hopefully that explained that well for you now. Idan, back to you, buddy.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, I've got the link here, mangomandigestion.com, if for people wanting to have a look more at the digestion and how it works. Next, there are certain foods you talk about that we should avoid at all costs. So maybe we can move straight into these three foods that you recommend we should avoid at all costs.
Let me give you an overview of these three foods to avoid, and then maybe we can get specific on each one of them. Is that okay? Anything that's white, anything that fizzes, and anything that's greasy. Now, let me qualify that. We've got 10 systems in our body, as I indicated a little while ago. And we have an additional one. It's called the buffer system to help us keep everything in balance, as our body's main goal is survival or normalcy. So the white and the fizzy drinks, those cause havoc with the skeleton system, the nervous system, glandular system, digestive system, reproductive system, and the urinary system, and also the senses of your body, like your sight, your hearing, your taste, your emotions, and all that. Here's the second one. The greasy, slick foods. They play havoc with the cardiovascular system, the lymphatic system, and the reproductive system, and the muscular system, I should say. So if you're having trouble with any one of your 10 systems that make up your wonderful body, then eliminate those three categories of foods and start combining your foods correctly, and watch those affected areas make dramatic improvements. So anything that's white, what's all that? I always tell my audience, if it's white, it's not right. That's salt, sugar, flour, rice, and milk. These white foods are to be avoided at all costs. Now, why? Let's take sugar for just a second here, Idan. Let's say, well, we know sugar is low in calcium. So we have a buffer system, and that buffer system actually goes somewhere to make sure that what we're eating, if it's deficient somewhere, and it'll actually rob the body from it. So sugar has no calcium. So it needs to go somewhere to get the balance correctly with the food we're eating, to get it out of us with the least aggravation on the body. So if we go ahead and we have something with a lot of sugar, notice when you feed your kids sugary foods and all of that. Oh, they're going up here, they're doing this, they're doing and everything. Well, what is happening there? It's very deficient in calcium. And the body, to maintain a balance by way of your buffer system, it'll go somewhere to get it. And the most readily available supply of calcium in the body is the nervous system. And instead of saying, okay, what am I doing that's causing that with my kid, my son or daughter? And instead of saying, okay, they need to take this for this or this for that, why don't we readdress it and say, okay, what am I doing that's causing it? And stop the cause. It's synonymous to, and another thing is, once we let's say diminish the amount of calcium in the body by way of the nervous system, then it goes to the bones. And now it's robbing it from the bones, and we lose that wonderful, wonderful strength that we have in our bones. And we even though we're going to, it diminishes over the years, but we don't want to escalate that. As I said, we're all on the road to death. There's no need to jump in the passing lane. So anything that fizzes is very, very acidic. And so it'll also go somewhere to get the amount of calcium that it needs to be help to alkalize the body. And that's by way of your buffer system. And so it'll go to those same areas to get let's say, neutralize that acid, not only calcium, but to get the acid softened to where it can get it out of you with the least aggravation. So here's my line about eating food. Eat more foods that grow on trees and plants, and eat less foods that's manufactured in plants. So we have a lot that we have available to us. I was watching a DVD on Vietnam, and one of the episodes that was in there was the amount of ships that go overseas to feed people, like tens of thousands of pounds every day. I was shocked. So eat more foods that grow on trees and plants and less food that's manufactured in plants. Back to you, Don.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, I think this is a great rule in general. Things that grows. I'm not a religious person whatsoever. However, I believe even in the Old Testament, I think it says that the fruit of the tree and will be your food, and at the end of the Bible, I think it says the herbs will be your medicine, something like that. So it's interesting, even from a historical point of view, when it look at it in that way, people studied and appreciated fruits and plants and herbs, and that's basically what you're concluding here, which is just strengthen the plant-based diet, which I benefit from and believe in so much. And combined and plant-based diet with food combining, I think it's an incredible winning combination. And maybe in the future, if you haven't got already, you can make a small food combining chart from your perspective for vegans. You may have one, but if not, any current one would be great to share it and to be able to purchase something like that. I'm sure many people.
Well, Don, that's what that food combining guide is all about. Even though it says in there, it shows people where the meats are and all of that. It says included for clarity and not, they're included for clarity. That's all they are in there for. But if they're going to eat meat, then eat it like with this group. And you follow? So it's already done for people. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what my interest was at the beginning too. I want to be able to get the message out to everybody. So those people who are solid as far as not changing their meat habits, at least if they go ahead and eat it in a proper combination, then they will have the least, what could you say, challenge with it, even though it's not that great for you. And by the way, I have 8 different videos that I recommend for my clients. And when they see those, you will probably never even think about eating meat again. I was shocked. King, King, Korn, King corn. I was absolutely shocked at how they grow those animals. Mercy sakes. I don't know why people eat it. And when you see that king corn and the amount of cancer that's in most of those cattle in the not farms, but in those plants, wow, that brought a tear to my eye. I couldn't believe it. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. No, I'm totally with you, and thank you for clarifying that.
Basically, supplements, they're complements. They're not circumvents. They are there to complement the meal, not to take the place of the meal. So when we get the meal down, nutrition, in our lives, then the supplements become a bonus instead of an act of appeasement. There are so many supplements out there, but you can't. Honey mixed with poison doesn't stop the poison from being deadly, okay? So we should never supplement a bad diet. We need to correct the bad diet. And once we get that together, then our nutrition efforts will become much more effective, easier, and all of that. So never supplement a bad diet. We need to correct a bad diet. Okay, back to you.
This is really, really wise. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. No, thank you for that. And as well, yeah, if someone is busy, I guess, and for or are unable to get out in the sun, and we need some vitamin D3, then I guess yes, if we can't get it from the best of source, then from foods and then supplements. But thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge on supplements and as a comment here. Before we go, any last thing you would like to share with us?
Yes, it's known that 2% of all of the people in this world think logically for themselves. 8% think when they're in pain and suffering. And Idan, 90% would rather die than think. Now, the fact that you are attending this podcast with Idan suggests to me that you're in that 2% who think. Now, here's Dr. Lester Breslow, the Dean of the School of Public Health at the University of California in Los Angeles. He wrote there that just by switching from a bad lifestyle to a healthier one, you can expect to add as much as 14 years to your life. So for you to take this short time out of your life to learn how to add years to your life is a pretty good trade-off. So hats off to you for being a member of that 2% who think by taking steps forward with a healthier lifestyle. We need to change our philosophy about life. Life is not going to change to suit us. We need to make some significant lifestyle changes to significantly see some immediate benefits. When I changed my philosophy on life, not only did my life change, but we've done very well in all areas of our life as well. So we get rich in all areas of our life when we change our philosophy about how we take care of our health. And I've never heard a boss hiring his clients because they were sick. That's just not going to happen. We're already out of first grade. The reason why they make those chairs so small is because we can't fit in them anymore. We're already out of first grade. So change your philosophy and watch for those enormous benefits that you'll enjoy for the rest of your life. You're truly a miracle. Do you realize that you have a new body? Well, let me tell you the process of how it renews. Every 2 to 3 days, you have a whole new lining in your mouth. Every 5 days, you have a whole new intestinal lining. Every 15 days, you've got all new white blood cells. Every 120 days, all new red ones. Every 6 months, you've got an entirely new bloodstream. Every 11 months, all new cells, all 75 to 90 trillion of them. They're all new. Every 2 years, you've got a whole new set of bones. And every 7 years, you have an entirely new body. So if that's true, then why do we die? Obviously, if that happens, then we just should be living forever. Well, let's say, Idan, you take a video. Remember when the video days were out? And you make a copy of that video, you put the original away, and you play the copy of it. And then you decide, okay, I'm going to make a copy of that copy. And you keep doing that differently, like a copy from the copy and a fourth generation, a copy from that copy. And when you get down to the 10th generation, notice that the clarity of that video is not as strong and not as, let's say, clean, and the resolution is challenged. This is what's happening in the body. Our bodies go through elimination process of this, of that, or what have you, and it renews itself, but the cells tend to diminish a little bit, but as far as quality. And why rush the process with anything but the best? We need to eat the best. We are in complete control of our minds. You're a beautiful person, and you're special with a non-negotiable self-worth. We're not garbage dumps with hairy lids, okay? You own 100% stock in a blue chip corporation. Never sell your stock cheap. I only wish I had known this kind of information when I was so sick, so much, where life was always a problem to be solved rather than a joy to be lived. So, in all of my years in this life changing business of health, I've never found one shred of evidence in the motivational books, the Bible, we took the message from the Bible and put that on that Mango Man book. So it's called the Bible Health Message. And all the self-development help books to support the notion that we are in this world to be either sick, fat, miserable, or broke. We're here to have abundance in life and not created to be sick. So remember this in conclusion. No matter how much we acquire or fulfill our every desire, what good is all that wealth when you've lost your health and you have to suffer until you expire? Thank you, Don. I'm happy to be able to share this with you today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wayne, for sharing this wonderful knowledge and your studies from so many years and personal experience. I'm sure the people listening enjoyed it and learned something. As I said, I will leave more details in the description below where you can find more of Dr. Wayne's work and charts and books. And I'm looking forward to welcoming you back in the future. We're going to have another episode, part of this series. And the next one will be about water fasting, something I've done myself. And so is Dr. Wayne, and he's going to talk us through that. So once again, Dr. Wayne, thank you so much for all of this, and I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you in the very near future.
Thank you, Don, and for making hats off to you for making a positive difference here, buddy. Okay.